If you're still wondering how to apply some of the new tools in Luminar Neo, such as the Neon and Glow tool, to your images, then this is the video for you. You're going to see how to transform an ordinary jack-o'-lantern into something magical using Luminar Neo. I'm Darlene with Digital Photo Mentor. This is a clip from a recent spooky photo editing live stream that I did using subscriber-submitted images. You can submit your images too and follow along each week as I edit live. So if you're ready, let's hop over to Luminar Neo and get started. Right, so this one I'm going to work on. So let's go into Edit. And we could go and try a preset first, but I want to try doing some of the new tools and see if we can make that pumpkin glow from the inside, right? So what I'm going to do on this one is kind of funk it up a little bit with some of these neon and glow tools, right? So it's a raw file. And we can start with raw, develop raw, and look at the camera profiles. Okay, so by hovering over, do we like any of these? Ooh, I like that one. So look at how much more color and spunk that has. Don't want monochrome. Ooh, landscape's good too. I think I like that standard one. Okay, so see how much more spunk the image has right out of the gate just by changing the camera profile. If you are using a Fuji camera, unfortunately, our profiles do not show up here, okay? It has to do with how Fuji does their camera profiles and so on. It's complicated, but just know that if you're on Fuji, you will not see your profiles there, and there's nothing that you have done wrong, okay? So next thing I want to do, I've got my histogram here. I just want to make sure I've got it a little bit of white showing, okay? So I'm going to turn on my clipping warnings. That's the J key. And I'm going to bring it up a little brighter. And you can see this highlight here is just starting to get some clipping. Okay. So I'm just getting some white there on the highlights. And I'm happy with that. Turn off my clippings. And okay, people are going to say, or you might say, well, the background is going extremely dark. I'm okay with that. The only bits that are actually clipping here is here. Okay. But if I add some more black, we'll probably get a bunch more, okay? So we could add some contrast this way, and I can bring the highlights down a little bit to keep control of that, okay? While I'm in here, we can do a basic color adjustment, okay? I find that the pumpkin is a little bit blue, so I'm going to give him some more orange. See, look at how much when we add yellow, the orange comes out. Look at the greens. Right, I'm going to reset it. So watch the color of the greens and the oranges as I go up the yellow scale, right? The orange really jumps out. You have to be careful going too far, though, because at some point it becomes like neon orange. And you know what I'm going to say about that, right? Neon puke. No neon puke for Halloween. I feel like I should be wearing my antennas. Here, let me get my antennas. I feel like I need a Halloween costume of some kind. There we go. How's that? I feel better editing with my antennas for spooky. Okay, so this is where I'm at now. So here's our before. I've just changed the camera profile and done some develop raw edits. Okay, so I'm going to do a crop on this one because remember we talked about in the cropping one a couple weeks ago, watching your corners, right? I'm just going to come off the screen for a minute because I want you to just see the image. Okay, so I want to get rid of this bright corner. Now I could use the new Gen Erase to erase it. I could use a clone tool, but I'm not opposed to cropping it because we could get a little closer on this pumpkin. So I'm just going to do Composition AI and come in. I want to put this pumpkin still off center. Actually, I don't mind that. Maybe let's give him a little bit more space. Like that. Okay, so see how that just brought him in closer? So there's some really nice still texture in the background and just less space around him, okay? All right, next, we're going to keep this one fairly simple because I want to just add some of the tools. I'm just going to darken this on the edge vignette. Now keep in mind, when you use an edge vignette after you've cropped, you got to bring the size in, right? Because it keeps the original size, and that's something that I've been asking for them to change forever, right? But I want to just darken this edge over here a little bit and the bottom. So I want to do something like that. And then I'm positioning about like that. Okay, so see how I went super dark on the vignette, all the way dark, feather down to 0, right? Then I can bring it back and adjust the amount, okay? Because I want to bring that down. Actually, let me do that again. I want a little bit more of this here. We'll come back and darken that. I'm going to come back and darken that another way. Okay. Now, let's see if we can grunge them up a little bit more. So we can do structure. And I want it just on the pumpkin. So somebody was asking me, what's the difference between boost, right? Look at the texture that's coming in here with the boost. Okay, see it's picking up sort of middle texture versus structure. Okay. Honestly, I'm never quite sure myself what the difference is. But look at how it's picking up that texture in the pumpkin. And I only want to do that on him. Okay. So I'm going to go quite extreme. And then we're just going to mask it using a radial gradient. Because I just want to do it on the pumpkin. I don't want to add the texture everywhere. Okay, keep in mind that these two lines, remember, it fades from here to here. So I've got to go bigger than the pumpkin so it fades out towards his edges. And I can make the fade a little bit smaller so that we cover him. Okay, something like that. Oops. Something like that. There we go. Now I'm going to copy this mask because I might use it again. Okay, so can you see what this is doing? It's just, oh, I did it backwards. So we're going to invert the mask. I forgot the option was on the outside. So if I show the mask, of course it's around the outside. So let's invert. Then I'm going to copy it. Okay, now we're just grunging up the pumpkin. Okay, so that's one. Then the next thing I can do is details. And this one will bring more detail into the pumpkin as well. So I'm going to do small details because he actually looks a little bit out of focus, right? But look at how the small details makes him look sharper. I love the small detail slider better than the super sharp AI. Okay, so I'm just going to do that and paste in a mask. Okay, so again, we're just sharpening the pumpkin. A little bit of the leaves, but that's okay. And then if I want to blur everything else, we can use the new blur tool. Okay, so we can go down to blur. And I have a neat idea for this one. I want to drag the amount up, and I want to do twisted. Okay, so twisted is kind of neat because you can do this kind of thing. Okay, but of course I want to do the mask, but this time I'm going to invert it because I don't want to blur the pumpkin. I want to blur the edges. Okay, so see how this is coming along now? So I can make a blurry edges like so, or we could do tilt shift. We could do motion blur. Okay, so there's lots of neat things you can do with this to make it look blurry. Okay. Actually, tilt shift was kind of cool. So it blurs the bottom and the top. So we want to make sure we don't get a pumpkin. See, these are the fade amounts, okay? And we can even shift it. So we could say, well, we want focus here, like so. And something like that. So that's actually kind of neat. And that blurs that one down here that I thought was problematic. Okay, so we can blur like so. I'm just going to dial it back just a bit so it's not quite so intense. Like so. Right, now let's add some neon. So while we're here, we've got neon and glow. So there's 3 different tools here, really. So you've got glow, which is inner glow, right? And if I drag the slider up, it looks for the subject and it's going to put a glow inside. So let's hope it finds the pumpkin. Okay, it takes a minute to analyze. I guess I can come back on the screen now. So see what it's done. If I look at this here, it's got an orange color by default. Okay, so you can see it's actually glowing, making the pumpkin itself glow, but not inside the pumpkin. Okay, that's trickier. If I change it to outer glow, okay, now the pumpkin glows on the outside. And you can see it's kind of got the mask wrong, okay, but we can refine the object. Okay, so if I want the glow only coming around the pumpkin, okay, it thinks that this is part of the subject, so I just have to erase it. Okay. There we go. So when you put your mouse over and click, it shows a blue sort of mask over where it thinks is the subject. So anything that is not, just erase it. And I'm going to draw in here because it missed the tip of the stem. Okay. So now we've got this glow, okay, coming around the outside of the pumpkin. Okay. And I kind of painted incorrectly there. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit and do another erase and make sure that I get it erased from, I've gone outside the lines. I painted outside the lines is what happened. So it was glowing too far away from the pumpkin. Okay. Oops. I still need to refine it again. Okay. There we go. So I want to just make sure that it blends nicely like so. Okay. So refine the object. So now we've got a cool outer glow. Let's make it a little more orange, not so yellow, like so. And if we open this bottom panel, we have sparkles. Okay. It's a little bit weird, but you know what? In this case, it could work for us. So I'm going to drag it up. And I'm going to adjust the same hue, okay, because right now it's over here in the blue-purple range. So I'm going to make the hue 40 to match 40 up here. So they're both orange, okay? So we can spread the glow of the sprinkles and the amount, right? So that's kind of cool. And we haven't done the final tool. So we looked at inner glow, outer glow, right? Let's bring this down just a little bit. I think we've got too much sparkles. There we go. Look a little bit more subtle. There we go. We could also make it more orange versus more white. Oh, I like the orange. Let's go more orange, right? And then go back to neon. So neon will allow us to create something completely different. So we could create neon eyes just by drawing. So they added this new tool, okay, because they added an option to draw in the neon, okay? You can do this one, which is the automatic one, and it selects the subject for you. Now you saw it analyzed pretty quickly, right? That's because I've already done the analysis using the same tool, right? So it's using the same outline, okay? If I want to, you know, have this orange glow around the pumpkin, we can bring it right in. Okay, so we've got something like that. So now we've got this orange glow around the pumpkin. But what if I want something different, okay? Because I don't know if I want the outside of the pumpkin to glow, to be honest. So instead, I'm going to draw it where I want it, okay? Now, here's a little trick, okay? I'm going to use a very small brush. Make sure I'm on draw, okay? So you see the pencil, right? When you draw or click a dot, so you click, and then if you hold the shift key down and click again, it will draw a straight line. Oops, apparently I didn't click the first time. Apparently it is not doing a straight line for me. Interesting. Well, it worked before. Isn't that interesting? All right, let me erase that. It does not want to do shift click for me. So shift click. There we go. Apparently I was not drawing correctly. Okay, so now I've drawn a triangle, and I can set that same orange hue, a little bit less white, and then decide, you know, how do we want to make that apply, right? And if I do the same, so click, shift click, shift click, shift click. And I could kind of do the same on this one. We'll just go around the eyes like so. Now the mouth is going to be tricky, right? I don't know that I want to attempt the mouth, but I'm going to do something like this. I'm just going to do in the middle of the zigzags. How about that? Let's see what that does. Somehow I missed one. Okay, that's not bad, right? Let's do one more. If I was using my graphics tablet, my Wacom tablet, I could probably draw around the pumpkin's mouth better, right? But I think that's kind of cool, right? So we can decide we want more glow, spread it out more. Do we want less orange? Actually, it's more yellow, isn't it? Let's make it a bit more orange. There we go. Okay, so that's what we got with the glow tool. Now he looks kind of evil, right? One last tool that I might use here is actually Sunrays, okay? The other one that came out, which is an extension, is Magic Light, right? We could try Magic Light, and that's going to add stars around things, though. So I'm not sure that one's going to work. But Sunrays is kind of cool for adding a starburst, okay? And we can place that inside the pumpkin. So we can tell it, okay, it's inside the pumpkin. And then we can make it warmer, right? And just do some funky things like there. I want to dial the sun radius down. I don't want the sun showing, but I want the sun rays. And one of my favorites here is randomize. So I can literally just randomize it. But the neat thing about this tool, right, is the overall look. So I can literally use it to darken the whole image. Okay. So I don't even need a lot of sun rays coming out. And we could have them just coming out the top, right, out the eyes by masking it with a linear gradient. So it's only coming out the top, not the bottom. Okay, so from top down. So now let's see what we got. See that? I think that's super cool. I'm going to add one more vignette and go super dark. Need to come closer, obviously. And then I'm just going to place it more over here because I want to get these plants darker over on this side. Something like that. Okay, so let's see our before and after. Is he creepy? I kind of like it. Shelly says, so cool. Right? Great use for the neon tool. So the neon tool is the time, Halloween is the time to pull out the neon tool, right? He looks evil, but he looks cute at the same time, I think. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy my teaching style and you want more step-by-step instructions to learn the software, check out Luminar Neo, the complete course. You'll find a link to it in the pinned comment below. Click either of the videos on the screen now to watch more photo editing tutorials using Luminar Neo, Lightroom, and Photoshop.